My name is Brittany Wolf. I was diagnosed with Tourette Syndrome 28 years ago when I was 7 years old. And when I was 7 in 1997, I would see Tourette, the few times that I would see Tourette Syndrome be talked about on the television, whether it was in a news program, a talk show, movie, television show, all it ever was used as a punchline or a joke. This was 30 years ago.
Identified something we called political Tourette syndrome because it seems like every other week somebody in the public eye, a politician, somebody who knows that the whole world is watching, says something remarkably stupid.
This was 2 years after that in a movie, a character that had Tourette syndrome.
Be right down. God.
Nice day, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez, you okay?
I'm sorry. I have Tourette Syndrome, and it causes me to have these uncontrollable outbursts.
It's not so bad.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, you get used to it.
This was in 2001.
Oh, you betcha. Give me an H. Give me a U. Give me a giant... I'm sorry. That was my Tourette's.
In 2012, David Cameron said that he's sorry that if he offended anyone after describing being heckled by Ed Balls in the comments as like having someone with Tourette syndrome sitting opposite you. In 2017, Sharon Osbourne said, "A little thing will fly out of my mouth and I'm like, why didn't I think about that before I did that? Why did I do that? I should bite myself or something. Sometimes I think I have Tourette's with all the swearing I do." 8 years ago, this happened.
So why, John, I promise I'm going to leave you in a second, but why does he keep doing this?
Look, he's got Tourette syndrome sometimes when he's on Twitter. This is part of the intervention, is to make sure that he has a much slower speed on the connection.
And then this was 6 years ago. That last clip, Chuck Todd from the news, he did later come back and apologize after the Tourette Association contacted him and let him know that it was an ignorant comment and something that probably shouldn't be made. So, awesome for him. That's great. However, the fact that it was so easy for him to say it is still a little frustrating. But you would think that, with him apologizing, that was a big step. So we're probably getting to the right place. We're probably starting to get somewhere, right? But then in a New York Post article a few years after that, there was a comment that said, activist groups ran TV ads of celebrities shouting gay as if they are suffering from Tourette syndrome. Then in 2024, Anthony Albanese, who I believe was from Australia, said, "Have you got Tourette's or something? You just sit there, babble, babble, babble." I believe I read that he came out with an apology as well, which is fine. That's great. I'm glad that he apologized, as he should. However, continuously, again, that is the first thing that people think of, even when they're just having a conversation and using it as something that person has something wrong with them. It's still not okay. And so that was 2024. So 2025, you would think we'd be a lot better. However, 2 television shows in 2025 also made comments about Tourette syndrome. The first one being Yellowstone.
Motherfucker. After I shoved your head so far up that you got heartburn in your eyeball.
What the f? Yeah, let's take the girl with Tourette's to the bar. That'll be fun.
Just recently, a new show called Sirens came out on Netflix, which was really disappointing for me because I really was looking forward to watching this show, where another comment, again, was made about Tourette syndrome.
High-powered attorney, but now she does volunteer work as animal activist. I hurt people's rights.
It's 2025, and these comments still happen. And we're still continuously told that we're the ones that need to grow up, that needs to get over ourselves. And it's insane to me that we're told to grow up when we're just begging for people to stop seeing us as a joke and see us as human beings. But yet the people that don't have to grow up in that logic are the ones that are making fun of people with disabilities. Now, that first clip I showed you was from 30 years ago. The frustration that we have is that, for me, it's been 28 years, but that was 30 years ago, and the same things are still happening. The same comments are still happening. It's still coming out of people's mouth as if it's absolutely nothing, and they don't have a second thought about it. And that's the part that's frustrating, because we are a second thought. Yes, the apologies are wonderful, and people should continue to apologize and learn when they're saying the wrong thing. But the fact that it's that easy target that still happens, it's wild to me. And that is what's frustrating. Because when I was a kid watching clips like that online, I questioned and wondered why the entire world seemed to think that what I had was a joke. I questioned why it seemed like the entire world, because to me as a kid, especially the entire world, that's what it felt like seeing it on television, why they were allowed to bully me and people like me all the time and laugh at me. Why was that okay? But it wasn't okay for them to do it about other disabilities or other problems or things like that going on in the world. Especially as time went on, people started learning more and doing better. And I'm not saying we're perfect by any means, and I'm not saying that we're the only thing that's made fun of. I understand that completely. But when we live in a world where South Park had the better depiction of what Tourette syndrome was than newscasters, then we're not doing something right. And all we want is to be taken seriously, and to Netflix and to all the other shows that use Tourette syndrome as these one-liners and these punchlines. I just want you to do better, because we are people, and there's another generation of kids growing up with this that still see on the TV that nobody takes us seriously. If people made fun of some other situations and disabilities like they do with Tourette syndrome, there would be uproars. There would be so many people coming out of the woodwork to tell people how wrong they are, people that aren't even in the community. But it seems like when it's Tourette syndrome, it's only us that have Tourette syndrome, or people that are touched by Tourette syndrome in some way, like a parent, a sibling, a spouse, whatever it might be. It's not the outcry from the population like I've seen it for other things when rude and awful things are said. Now, I'm not saying that it happens all the time and that nobody does it, but to me, I don't see it. And I am very in the Tourette syndrome and tic disorder world, as you can tell if you've been following me for a long time. And what's hurtful, and I'm trying to be very not emotional when I'm doing this. Normally I come at these videos when I'm talking about these comments that I see that are made. I come at these videos very, very forcefully, very openly frustrated, yelling or something, or having attitude in the videos. And I'm trying to be very level-headed and even keel, because I want people to listen. Now, I want to make it very clear for people watching that Tourette syndrome, coprolalia, which is the swearing form of Tourette syndrome, it's very real, and people do say swear words. They say things that people might deem inappropriate or vulgar or even derogatory terms sometimes. So it is a very real thing. However, so many people think that it's this funny thing on TV, and they love to laugh at it when it's on television, but yet then when it happens in real life, people are told, well, that's not real, it's just this joke on television. Or that it's funny when they want it to be funny, basically, but then when they actually see it in person, they don't want to hear it, so they get people kicked out of places. They film people, they mock people, they ridicule people, they give them dirty looks, they pull kids away from them, those types of things. But yet when they see it on the television, it's so funny, and we're supposed to laugh at it, and we're supposed to grow up and get over ourselves, which is what I have been told almost every single time I talk about this topic, when people are making fun of us, when we continuously try to push back and show people that Tourette syndrome is a very real thing, and it's a disability that shouldn't be made fun of. Now, those two clips, those were from the 90s. So as the years went by, I started to think that maybe it would get better. That's why I started advocating, as I said, so people started learning about Tourette syndrome, and they started knowing what Tourette syndrome actually was. And so I thought, things would get a lot better. The Tourette syndrome character wouldn't be there anymore. But unfortunately, that's not true. And it's not the only case, that clip that I showed earlier, where it was used as political Tourette's. This has happened multiple times. I didn't find it funny when I cried in my mom's lap every single day my senior year of high school, because my tics were so bad, especially when I got home, that I just couldn't sit still, and I had to get on medication for the first time. I didn't find it funny when I got a splinter this big in my foot because I ticked on a wooden deck with my foot and I shoved a piece of wood in my foot on accident. I didn't find it funny when I got a 2nd-degree burn on my stomach when I was cooking mac and cheese one time and my hand flicking tics mixed with the noodles being stuck to the bottom flicked and flung boiling hot water on my stomach. I didn't find it funny a couple years ago when I was at my lowest of lows, crying every single day and taking worse than I ever could or ever did and couldn't drive and had to rely on people all the time to take me places when I was having tic attacks every single day or every couple of days. It wasn't funny to me then when I felt pain radiating in my back every day to the point where I almost had to go and get acupuncture for it. I didn't find it funny when I had to go on disability leave from my job because of my Tourette syndrome. And that is why we don't find these things funny. And if there was real representation within that, or maybe mixed in so people actually understood what Tourette syndrome was, it might be a little bit different. I think that I could probably laugh these jokes off a little bit more. And again, I don't sit here and stew on them over and over again, but they are incredibly frustrating, and they're more frustrating to me for the next generation coming up. Because these next people, they're going to continue to think that Tourette syndrome is nothing but swearing and a joke, or that the people that do actually have coprolalia and struggle with it, that it's a laughing matter, that it is funny. People will continue to try to get people to tick because they think it's funny. People will continue to get kicked out of places because people don't want to learn what it actually is. They only want to be able to laugh at it, and that's it. We shouldn't exist outside of the jokes, and that's what's frustrating. What was especially weird to me was that Julianne Moore is in that movie or in that show, and she did a PSA for Tourette syndrome about coprolalia before.
When you hear Tourette, do you think cursing disease? I'm Julianne Moore, and I'd like to give you the facts about Tourette, because it's not what you think. Only 10% of individuals with Tourette curse. Tics such as eye blinking or throat clearing are much more common.
But yet, she's in the show where it then has the punchline that people with Tourette syndrome, like, it's just so easy to make it. Now, if there is representation inside of that people actually knew what it was, then I wouldn't be as upset about it. The community wouldn't be as upset about it. Because don't get me wrong, I make jokes too about my tics and myself. It's the only way to get through it. And my friends and my family and stuff, we laugh and make jokes about it from time to time because that's the way to get through it. But the difference is that people are laughing with me and not at me, because making fun of the community that I'm a part of, then that's making fun of me as well. And all of the people that I care so deeply about. We're human beings. They're kids watching these shows and these passing comments about political Tourette's or tweeting like a Tourette, which is just bad grammar in all kinds of ways. It's just, we need to do better. We need to show real representation. If you want to show somebody with Tourette syndrome and put humor with it, okay. For example, Motherless Brooklyn did a fantastic job of bringing humor into the character, but depicting how Tourette syndrome really is. These things are just low-hanging fruit, and I just think that people can be a little more creative. So I hope this got through to somebody, and I'll see you guys next time.